Well, welcome to another part of my house. So if you have spent any time on here, you can tell that we are in a different part of my house. I am not in the kitchen right now. So I am going to be talking about meal planning today. I am also going to be sharing later on in the video a recipe that is perfect for meal plans, great for busy weeknights, awesome for weekends. It's just such a great meal, really simple ingredients. But I wanted to share with you just some of the tips with meal planning that have really worked for me over the years, that have helped me to stay consistent and have just been such a benefit to our finances and to my family. I am so glad that you're here with me today. If we haven't met before, my name is Ange. Welcome, and this is the Menu Made Kitchen. All right, so meal planning. Definitely not a new thing. It's something that's been around and people have been incorporating into their families for a long time to help make mealtime less stressful. I started meal planning about 6 or 7 years ago, and that was definitely not my first attempt. I can remember when our daughter was really little, I would try to do the whole meal plan thing. I'd get out my menu and I'd go buy all the groceries, and I'd be really good for 1 week, and it felt so awesome, and then I wouldn't do anything else with it beyond that 1 week. And I did that so many times over the years. And like I said, about 6 years ago, I just thought, I love the way I feel at mealtime when I have a plan, and I've got to I've got to figure out how to make this stick and it be something that I just do, like eating and breathing. And so these 5 tips that I'm going to share with you today are definitely helpful, but most important, consistency is key, and that's really what's going to help you maintain meal planning and it just become part of what you do every single week. Okay, so one of the first things that I had to establish in the beginning was I needed to pick the day that I was going to sit down and meal plan and the day that I was going to go grocery shopping. And so I looked at my schedule and I decided, okay, these are the 2 days that are best for me to be able to do those things. And I try to just stick with that every single week. And life happens, things come up, and sometimes I have to bump it to the next day. But for the most part, for example, every single Thursday in the afternoon, usually if I don't get to it in the afternoon, I'll do it in the evening. But every Thursday, I make sure to write out my dinners for the following week and then my grocery list as well. And then on Friday morning, I go grocery shopping. That is just a time that works for me, and the grocery store isn't as busy in the morning. So I found that those 2 days work really well for me because then I'm done with it for the weekend and everything is all set for the next week. And I also have like a designated notepad that I do my grocery list and my meal plan on. So my grocery list will usually be on one page, and then I'll have my meal plan on the second page, and then I just tear off the grocery list when I'm done and throw that away, and I can reference back to my meal plan like, okay, what are we having on Tuesday for dinner? I can't remember, but I have everything I need for it. So having a notepad, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I've bought ones off of Amazon that are like $6 or $7 that you can hook to your fridge, and those are perfect. This one I actually found upstairs. My daughter had so many extra notebooks from the years of people gifting her crafts and things like that. So I just took this one, and this will be my notebook for the next probably 6 months. But have a notebook that is designated for your grocery list and your meal planning. Tuck it away in a drawer so it's always available for you. So tip number 2 that has really helped for me is I love the Pinterest and Instagram app for storing and saving my recipes, especially Pinterest because I can create boards. I've got slow cooker, weeknight meals, my favorite go-to meals. I mean, there's just so many ways of being able to store your recipes. And that way, when you sit down to do your meal planning, you're not just like, okay, what looks good today? Like, you can go straight to your board and find recipes that you already have put in there, or ones that you've already made before that you need because this week's going to be super crazy, and so you just need to have meals that you've already made and you know. And Instagram is another one that I use because I can save recipes, although I find that I don't go back to those quite as often as I do Pinterest. And don't get me wrong, I love cookbooks. I have cookbooks. I hope to have a cookbook someday, and I love thumbing through those like on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. But in terms of like when I sit down to actually make my meal or make my menu, having my Pinterest app open with all my boards and all the different recipes on there that I've made or that I want to try is just super easy for me. Okay, and so tip number 3, be realistic about the recipes that you choose so that it fits your schedule. I know in the beginning when I first started meal planning, I was so excited about planning out my meals that I was choosing recipes that had a lot of prep work and time. And so I'd come home, and even though I'd have all of the ingredients, I would be at the cutting board for like an hour and then at the stove. And by the time dinner was prepped and over with, I was in the kitchen for like 4 hours. That was not realistic for me, especially during a busy season in my life. So just choose recipes that are going to fit your schedule and give yourself some grace too. It's okay to buy a frozen pizza once a week and make a side salad, and that's your meal. Like, not every single one of my meals are going to be nutrient dense, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay to have a lazy night where I'm not even doing the simplest of meal when it comes to preparing dinner. I think the most important thing is just that you're spending time eating as a family together, or maybe you don't get to eat as a family together, but that you get to enjoy eating your meal and you're not feeling stressed out and rushed. So give yourself some grace and choose meals that are going to fit your schedule. Okay, so tip number 4 that really worked for me is I only planned 3 meals when I first started. So I wanted to make sure to establish this routine in my life. And I knew that if I just picked like 2 or 3 days, that felt more doable than picking 5 or 7 days of meals to plan. So obviously you can do as many meals as you want to do during the week, but in terms of like, if you already struggle with making meal planning a habit in your life, start small. Start with just a few days and then work your way up. Now I'm up to 5 days. 5 days is plenty for me. I feel like we usually end up having leftovers one night, so then that carries over into like the 6th day, and then we usually go out to dinner one time during the week. So 7 days was just too many for me, but 5 days is perfect and it's doable. And because I've been doing it now for 6 years, I've just established that routine and it's super easy for me to do. But if I'm encouraging you, if you're new at this and you want to start, just start small and establish that routine in your life and then build up from there. Okay, and so tip number 5, so this really pertains to folks that might have a family, or maybe you have people living with you. So get them involved. Ask them what they are craving for dinner for that upcoming week, or what they want to be able to see on the menu. So I'll usually go to my daughter and be like, what sounds good for dinner this week? Is there anything that you're craving, or is there anything that you have any ideas? And I'll do the same thing with my husband. And I don't do that every single week, but I do find that when I get them involved and ask them what they would like for dinner, I tend to be more accountable to delivering and making sure that I go get the items and that the meal gets made. And especially for young kiddos, I think that we need to get our kids in the kitchen more often. It's so important that they learn these life skills, and when they're involved in the process, I think it just ends up being kind of a whole family unit that's really healthy. And again, it kind of holds the person who's doing the grocery shopping and the planning accountable when they have pulled the family members into the decision making when it comes to the meals. Okay, so those are my 5 tips that have really helped me be and stay successful at meal planning. And like I said, I hope that maybe you find 1 or 2 things in there that are helpful for you, or maybe even just to give you a little bit of boost to try meal planning. So I'm going to share with you 10 benefits to meal planning. And number 1 is you spend less on food. When you plan out your menu or plan your meals every single week and you grocery shop once a week, you tend to spend less money at the grocery store. You're not just aimlessly walking around grabbing things that look good. You actually have a plan. You have a list of what you need. So you save a lot of money meal planning. And number 2, meal planning will help you achieve your health goals much easier than if you're just kind of winging it. I think if you have a plan of what you want to do with your health, and then you can make your grocery list every single week that will help support that, I think you'll be much more likely to be successful at that. Number 3, meal planning will also help you save time. If you have a grocery list and your meal plan, when you go to the grocery store, you are more likely to stick with your list and get through the grocery store much quicker than if you go to the grocery store with no plan and you're just kind of going down the aisles and not really knowing what you're there for. You just know that you need food for your house, and then it just ends up being a lot of money spent and a lot of time wasted. And number 4, this could not be more true for myself. I have a more organized kitchen now that I meal plan. However, I will say that since I have been following Dawn from the Minimal Mom, my home has become way less cluttered. I've gotten rid of a lot of stuff, and my kitchen was one of the first places that I went through and got rid of a lot of things. But I will say that meal planning does help keep my kitchen less cluttered, because I don't just have all these ingredients and things in my refrigerator and my pantry that I'm not using because it wasn't part of the plan. So definitely I notice my kitchen is way more organized now that I'm meal planning. Number 5, we waste way less food now that I'm meal planning. I cannot tell you how many times I would throw away buckets of produce, and it grieves me so much. I've said this in other videos. It grieves me to have to throw away groceries, but especially produce, like good for you things that I'm having to dump down the drain or in the garbage can because I didn't get to them quick enough. So meal planning will allow me to make sure that I'm using those ingredients because they're on the dinner plan and I have to use them. Okay, number 6, it makes grocery shopping easier. As I said before, when you go into the grocery store and you have a plan, you're not wasting your time like meandering through the aisles. Your time in the grocery store will just go so much smoother and be a whole lot more pleasant if you have your list and your plan and you stick with that. Number 7, this could not be more true. It reduces stress at mealtime. That's one of the biggest benefits of meal planning is I am not stressed out at dinner time. It's so nice to come home from work. I work outside of the home 3 days a week, and when I come home and I'm tired, like the last thing I want to do is try to figure out what I'm going to make for dinner. And so having that plan and having all the groceries that I need, I don't feel stressed out about dinner. Am I tired at nighttime? Sure. It's not like I'm like, yay, I get to make dinner tonight, but I definitely don't feel the stress and the pressure because I have what I need. Okay, number 9, making healthier food choices. Especially since I have a family, I want to be able to feed my family healthy things. Now, I'm not perfect, as I mentioned before. I definitely will throw in a frozen pizza, and I have no shame about that, and I'm totally cool with that. But I definitely think that it's important for me to provide healthy meals for my family. And when I'm meal planning, I'm searching for things that are, heavy on the vegetables or, good proteins. And so I tend to be more thoughtful, I guess, about the recipes that I choose and just making sure that they are healthy-ish. Okay, number 10, this could not be more true either. You become a better cook. If you're cooking more at home and you're exploring with new recipes, you're just gonna get better and better. So if you're new at this, or if you are just starting out in your adult life and you're just working your way into the kitchen, stay consistent with it and you will get better at it, I promise. I know that when I first got married, even though I grew up in the kitchen with my mom, I knew how to cook some things, but I was pretty limited. And oftentimes my husband and I were eating bean burritos and Stover's chicken pot pie. That was the extent of my cooking skills. So you become definitely a better home cook when you are doing it consistently. Okay, so now that we've talked about all things meal plan, as promised, we are going to be making a recipe today. I'm so excited to share this one with you. It's so delicious. It's a 1 skillet meal and definitely family friendly. You can make this really any night of the week, but I love it for weeknights because it's so fast and easy and it still is just comforting and delicious. So let's get started on this recipe. Okay, so we're going to start with a large pan here. You want to make sure that you have a pan that has high sides because we're going to be adding a lot of ingredients and you don't want to have any kind of spillover. So we're going to start with about 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And then next we're going to add in 1 pound of lean ground beef. You can also use ground turkey for this if you prefer that. And then I'll also add in 3/4 cup of chopped up yellow onion. We'll add that to the pan, and then I'm just going to crumble the beef and cook it until it's no longer pink. All right, so now that our hamburger is browned, I just see a little bit of grease at the bottom of the pan, and I just like to take a few paper towels, and I have some tongs here, and I just run the paper towels along the bottom of the pan, and that just sops up the extra grease. And then we're going to add in 1 teaspoon of minced garlic. You can add more garlic if you like it super garlicky. I'm also going to add in 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and then I have 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. And my family likes a lot of black pepper, so I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of ground black pepper. So at this point, we're just going to cook this for about a minute or so, just until the garlic smells fragrant. All right, and then next we're gonna add in a 24-ounce jar of pasta sauce. This could be whatever kind of pasta sauce you like. I happen to love this brand, and the tomato basil is really good. And then I'm also gonna add in 1.5 cups of water. So this is gonna help cook the noodles. At this point, everything's gonna look pretty soupy, and when we add the noodles, then the noodles will absorb the liquid and the sauce will become a lot thicker. All right, and then we're gonna add in 3 cups of egg noodles. I'm using extra wide. You can also use like the no yolk egg noodles. So we'll just give this a stir, and I'm gonna bring this to like a medium simmer. I really wanna cook the noodles just under the al dente stage because I'm gonna add a couple of more ingredients and then we'll finish cooking the pasta. So as you can see here, the noodles have absorbed a lot of the liquid. They're starting to cook and the sauce is thickening. So this is the perfect time to test your noodles to see if they are basically al dente or just a little bit under. And at this point, we're going to add in about a 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan cheese. I'm going to add in a cup of cottage cheese. You can also use sour cream or even ricotta cheese. I just like using cottage cheese because I feel like it really melts into the ingredients and it doesn't have any kind of texture. You won't even know it's in there really, and it adds a little boost of protein too. So you have that. All right, so once I have everything combined, I'm just gonna smooth out the top and we're gonna add about 2.5 cups of shredded mozzarella cheese. You can really use or add as much cheese as your heart's desire. We like to definitely have lots of cheese with our lasagna. So at this point, I'm just gonna pop the lid on and we're gonna allow the cheese to melt and the noodles to finish cooking, and it is ready to serve. Okay, so we are all home today. It's been freezing rain since like 2 a.m. this morning, and it doesn't look like there's an end in sight. It's supposed to be really cold temperatures for the next like 24 hours. So we're kind of trapped here at home. This was the perfect day to make this skillet lasagna because it's so cozy. I think I'm gonna toast up some sourdough bread with a little bit of butter. I think that'll just be the perfect dinner. I love skillet meals like this, especially with pasta, when you can cook the pasta in the pan with the rest of the stuff, and that way you don't have to dirty 2 separate dishes just to make the pasta. However, I could have done like my microwave pasta maker, which I've shared in previous videos. I love that thing, but this all cooks in one pot and it's just perfect because the noodles absorb all of that great sauce flavor from the tomatoes and the garlic. Okay, this is the way that I like to enjoy lasagna. I don't have to layer anything. It's so much less work than putting together like a sheet pan of lasagna. This is so delicious and so flavorful. And you saw that it was fast and easy. And you can use any kind of ground meat that you want. You could add in a little bit of like sausage if you want that flavor, or ground turkey if you want it a little bit lighter. You could even do extra veggies. You could do some green peppers. It's really a versatile dish, especially since everything cooks in that one pan. So if you love lasagna, you're gonna love this easier version. Definitely like a lazy man's lasagna meal. It's so good. I can't wait for you guys to try it. Well, I am so glad that you spent some time with me today. It was fun to talk about the things that helped me to be successful in my kitchen, and I hope that they are helpful for you. Don't forget, the recipe that I shared today is in the descriptions. I have the link there for you. And make sure to subscribe. If you're new here, tap the subscribe button and also the little bell on the right-hand side. That will help notify you every time I post a new video. I hope you guys have a blessed week and happy planning, and we will see you next time.